Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining in for on a busy working day. As you would be aware, StackRoot has been conducting the Stay Ahead with StackRoot webinar, and as a part of the webinar series, this is the next webinar, which is on platform rationalization. Before that, let me take 2 minutes to just share about StackRoot. StackRoot originally was established in 2015 as a part of NIIT Venture, and there are various levels of offerings that StackRoot has, amongst which StackRoot transformative programs is primarily for mid to senior professionals, which span across various areas such as architect, competence development, product management program, business analyst, and so on. Each of these paths have got various learning journeys and learning paths associated with them. Normally, that we closely work with them. Recently, even in the August, we've won the Brandon Hall Award, which is a recognition for our programs. And as a next step, I mean, ideally for the architect community, we have been closely working with the architect community to ensure that there is a digital architect community which comes together, shares experiences, and best practices across. As an initiative, we started with the Digital Architect Conclave for 2023 and 24, which has been successful with having so many delegates year on year across various organizations and industries and domains. We continue to engage the architect community as a part of the webinar series, which is this. And but as another part of this, I would also want to highlight the new products that we've launched. In the lieu of a lot of the requirements and the comments that have been left in these webinars, and also with the conclave, we've understood that some of these were the key areas which we understand are the need of today's architect, which is where we have these new products across FinOps, security, quality engineering, platform rationalization, and data product architecture. We are touching upon the platform rationalization in the current webinar. Let me next hand it over. Firstly, let me introduce. We have three speakers here with us. First is Ritesh, who's the SVP for and CTO for Happiest Minds, who has joined us. Second, we have RNP sir, and we have Nivarthi sir as well, who are veterans in their own respect across having more than 30 to 40 years experience across the domain. Now, we will be first starting with Ritesh. Ritesh is the SVP and CTO who has multiple decades of experience, more than 1.5 decades of experience across technology, product engineering, and business. He has been playing a lot of he's playing a key role in the platform aspects of the current the FS Minds, and as to which we are, as a next piece, we would be asking Ritesh to share his insights on the business perspective of platforms and platform rationalization.
Thanks, Anirudh, and thank you, Team Stackerout, for having me here. Now, if I have to talk about platform rationalization, right? Looking at the audience, you're more from a technical and architect community, and everybody would have come across this word platform rationalization multiple times during your experience of working, right? Now, what I'm sharing could be like a reinforcement to your thought process, could give you certain new things, but these are purely my views based on my experience in doing platform rationalization, modernization, or simplifying or kind of optimization of certain operations that business want to do. Now, with that as a background, let me start off with what platform rationalization mean. It could be again a reinforcement. And as I said, my points over here is purely based on my experience. Most of the project that we start, customers, the enterprises, the business houses, they always approach it in a way that they want to do platform rationalization. Somebody calls it platform modernization. Now, however, or whichever terms they use for this, the end goal always lies in the objective, which they fail to state in the beginning. They call it modernization, which may not be modernization. They call it platform rationalization, it may not be rationalization. They may come back and say that we want to kind of optimize our operational efficiency. It may not be platform rationalization, or it could they start off with something very simple, but it ends into a very large scale platform rationalization. I'm using this word quite often. Now, how do you figure it out? And where I have seen a lot of us, a lot of people, a lot of architects kind of, uh, I would not say fail, but then where they literally struggle is to find out the objective. The one of the most important things in these kind of a approach, or these kind of projects, or these kind of an engagement, is to understand the objectives. What is the OKRs? What does customer want to achieve? What are the objectives and key results that they want to achieve? And this cannot be done. We as an enabler, as an IT company, as a person, as a partner to big enterprises, to help them achieve modernization, for example, we it needs to be a joint effort. And when I say joint effort, there are multiple stakeholders. Number one, what is more important, most important thing is to find out the objectives, and how are we going to measure the success of the objectives or the things that we are trying to do. There are a lot of times when customer just says that, okay, here is a code base, here is my system architecture, help me do the platform rationalization. It cannot be done alone as an enabler or an IT services company as a standalone. We cannot do it standalone. It needs to be a collaborative effort from the customer. And there are many times when customer do not really understand their involvement. And at that time, what becomes important is to educate them, build that confidence that we are here to help you in this journey. This platform rationalization is a journey. It's not just one time activity, and it cannot be, let's say, achieved in 6 to 8 months, considering the landscape, the existing landscape of the technology. So the first point, as I said, objective. Second point is to make customers or the enterprise aware that it's a joint effort. It's a it's a journey that we all need, or we need to take to achieve what the end goals are, right? Now, with these two things, and another important thing is, there are a lot of times when we try to force fit frameworks. Now, frameworks could be an Excel sheet that we throw to the customer and we say that, why don't you answer this framework or this questionnaire, and then we will come back with our evaluation. Trust me, a single framework doesn't fit. It doesn't fit all rationalization or modernization approach. The way I see it, it's more customized. For example, a customer may have multiple ERP systems in play, right? And these multiple ERP system came into existence because, let's say, a scenario where they have acquired three different companies. Now, when three different companies chose a particular ERP system, they had their certain objectives. Now, when the acquiring company has now have four different ERPs, how do you evaluate which one is better or which one is best? Now, what third point or third important point is to understand the reason of having those systems, not just what the objectives are. Objectives can be met once we understand why that system came into picture, and hence we will be able to kind of take a very balanced decision on which ERP or which system should be chosen among the other four. Now, that is number three. And it need not mean that all the system needs to be consolidated. Let's say four ERPs. Always we try to approach that I need to keep only one ERP, while that is that is what it is needed. But again, as I said, it is a journey. It's okay to have multiple similar systems at a given point of time and then phase it out over a period of time, which a lot of customers do not agree. But then that's where the education comes into picture. Now, what is the need of platform rationalization we talked about? How do we approach? It's more of a phased, is a journey. It's a phased approach. It cannot be done overnight. It cannot be done in 6 months. Depending upon the landscape, it may take years. And that's where the convincing and getting confidence from the customer is more important. Now, third point is obviously the implementation and the support. Now, implementation and support is what my experience says that in 80%, I'm just taking 80-20 ratio over here, 80% of the time, the documentations of those things are not available. And then it's a big problem. It gets really complicated. Now, there is no easy way out. We have to study the code. We have to understand the code, maybe do the writing, to kind of put our understanding into a piece of paper, get it validated with their business people. That's the best approach. But with now generative AI coming into the picture, what we need to think is how innovatively can we overcome this problem? I have a source code. I have a piece of source code. Can I give this piece of source code to the copilot and help me or help generate the documentation? Now that eases out our process, that eases out a little bit of complexity. We can build the flow chart, the call stack out there using generative AI. Now, what I'm trying to talk about is we always try to miss innovation into this platform rationalization. We don't try to bring a different way how we can solve the problem. We always try to solve it in a way old, the way we have done it. Read the code, understand the code, document the code. It's a tedious process. Now there are tools and technology available to help us achieve that. Now with that, these are my high level thoughts talking from, let's say, why there is a need of platform rationalization. The need can be multiple. The customers, the enterprises may think it differently. We as an enabler, we as an experienced person from the technology perspective, help them guide to list down their objectives, help them understand. Because when you do this platform rationalization, it is not that we are going to implement the same set of features. During this journey, the business people, the technology people would come back and keep saying that, oh, I need this more feature, this many feature needs to be added. So is it rationalization? No, it's improvisation also. It's like taking the product to the next version. And hence it becomes very important to have a collaboration with the stakeholders, the customer stakeholders, understand, educate them, and then get into an implementation, bringing in innovation into the implementation. So this topic is too large. It can be continued for next 2-3 hours as well. But with the limited time that I was given, this is my views on platform rationalization. Thank you.
Thank you, Ritesh. Thank you for sharing your insights. Uh, I would like to now introduce Arun Prasad, who's a senior mentor with Stackroot, to kindly take it over.
Thank you, Ritesh. It was nice to hear from you, your perspectives. So we'll continue. I'll just share my screen and then I hope it's visible.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. And I'm R.N. Prasad. I'm closely working with Stackroot team in terms of creating new solutions, being part of the entire journey of from launch to really delivering some sessions, as well as really working with all the colleagues who are extremely competent in their own ways to really integrate and build larger than life kind of solutions that are required in the industry today. So, what I intend to talk about today is all about uh, the need for rationalization. As Ritesh mentioned, what is the real business? If rationalization is the solution, what is the business problem? That's where we are really going to start. And we will slowly get into understand and at least among ourselves clear all the confusion about the different terms that are used in this context, which Ritesh mentioned very well. Many times we see this as consolidation. Sometimes we hear this as optimization. Sometimes people will say it is IT harmonization. Sometimes people will say rationalization. First, let's understand very clearly where what what each of them really mean with examples, and then really look at at least two types of rationalizations which are very popular. One, of course, is the application portfolio rationalization, and second is the data portfolio rationalization. These are common things that we see, but there are, of course, advanced organizations in the world who have really looked at even higher order problems of really, for example, looking at the entire supply chain. If they, from pure business angle, if I have a complete business supply chain, how do I really look at all the components of the supply chain and really look at it? So depending on the time available, we will touch upon all the three things today. And so let me just start with we should have whatever we use the term platform. It's a very common term, and many of us we also use platforms and ecosystems. But I think it's important to really use the full name for the platform. It's like, everybody calls me Prasad or Aranti. Then if you really expand the name, like in passport, you get the full name. Today, I would suggest that the right terminology that we should be using for the platform is digital business technology platform. The business technology combination is very important, and of course, it is digital. And we will try to understand what we really mean by the word platform as understood by the world. So here, I just want to start with what, where are we, what has brought, what all things have brought us to the current state so that we understand the need for rationalization. So if you really look at this, which is our common experience, 95% of the businesses are already using cloud computing, which is true, and it's only going to increase. And interestingly, more than 95% of the data will be hosted in the cloud. So that means the enterprise data is really applications and data, they are all really reaching the cloud. So this is the first thing that we need to keep in mind. Enterprises are moving their applications, data, files, enterprise content. Today, we have so much of content in our websites and media, your emails, and many other kinds of multi-structured data. Uh, they all need to, they're all clearly moving into the cloud. So ultimately, enterprise data, the destination is very clearly the cloud, and you can really see that the how we have progressed from 22 to 29, as you see in this, and all countries are equally active in terms of moving their entire set of applications, data, and files to the cloud. So if you remember this, one thing that comes to my mind very clearly is the uh, Professor Gary Hamel in his series of videos on innovation, management innovation and change. He has spoken particularly about a topic called exponential changes. What are the things that are exponentially changing in that? That's why that curve is there. And he argued that in this context, that this is so new that it has never happened in the past. Earlier, we only used to build barriers for other companies to not to enter into the market so that we can comfortably earn our profits and revenue. But today it's not so. And the pace at which things are changing really are so quick, and including knowledge transfer is happening at an exponential rate. And so we really look at things that are changing around us. In his talk, he expresses number of internet connections around the world. It's just exponentially growing. Mobile devices connected, IoT devices, it should be double exponential. It's really overtaking very much any other thing. Number of platforms deployed by companies, they are also exactly going the same way. Number of cyber security incidents that we see, now I don't have to say that all of you know about it. And because platforms are becoming popular, number of users trying to use also is increasing exponentially. So if these things happen, it has a tag along or a snowball effect associated with that. The growth of data in platform also will be exponential. People are today shifting to multiple cloud environments. That's also exponential. Workforce that is transforming to leverage the cloud is also exponential. All these things are definitely leading to some business benefits also even they are exponential. For example, the product life cycles. Today, we know how quickly people come up with new phones or new computers or any other things that we really use every day. They are becoming smarter and product cycles are compressing. And exponential access to new knowledge is also very much true because all of us know this entire chat GPT became a worldwide phenomenon in just 13 days, 1 3. And imagine, and now a number of users, people who are using ChatGPT is also clearly an exponential change. So if this is true, then there is a term that is used called cloud sprawl. If any of you know what does it really mean, you can uh, type your answers on in the chat box. What about what do you feel about the cloud sprawl? Why it is happening, and whatever thoughts that come to your mind about the good and bad things of everybody just going into the cloud, you can type. It will become a little more interactive, and we will share some of those insights with everybody. Anirudh, you will be able to help as people type, right?
Yes, yes. So I request everyone. So cloud sprawl is the uncontrolled increase in the growth of cloud usage, leading to increased cost, security, risk, and decreased efficiency. Have you observed this happening in your organization? If yes, what has been some of the cause? We would appreciate if you can just bring your responses in the chat. Yes, we have Mohan highlighting, yes, it's due to ease of access.
Absolutely true. Because everybody can keep their files. The simplest thing that all of us definitely remember is the Dropbox. So cloud, put all your files that you may lose it on your computer. There's no may not be a backup. And if I leave my computer at home and I go somewhere else to a meeting, how do I access? So many
You-
interesting, simple things got solved. Yes,
Any, yes, too much cost to keep running instances in cloud. Yes.
absolutely. Cloud is not free in the when it is used commercially. I'll give some examples of the same thing that in a very large bank, globally known bank, and headquartered in uh, New Jersey, USA. They really were monitoring the kind of documents that were stored by employees, couple of lakhs of employees around the world. And they said, okay, now you can use any cloud storage system to keep your documents because we don't allow you to put it on your own laptop or computer. So then each of them started creating accounts. It ran into hundreds accounts initially, then became tens of thousands, then became nearly a million accounts across multiple cloud file providers like Dropbox. Now that became uncontrollable. That's what you really see. So everybody liked that idea that yes, why should I keep all the files? And interesting thing about this company found most of the commonly used files that are referenced by the employees were 800 to 1300 copies were there minimum. 800 to 1300 copies of the same document were there in the cloud. Now think about all the kinds of things that are there. You're paying for it. Now, interesting thing is that it is not just that everything is there. There are duplicates there are, and you are paying for everything. And of course, there is a risk of anybody getting into any one of the providers. And if there is a challenge and if there is a vulnerability because of which they can access the most reputed bank's reference information, then you are at a big difficult time. And if any of the customer information gets leaked, and they were definitely not allowing the customer information to be kept in those files, but in case by any way it happened, it would have been a very big disaster. So think about the consequences of opening up an opportunity on the cloud and how people will use it, you don't know. And many times it could lead to uncontrolled usage for which you are also still paying. And now you also have to bear the consequences of all the, not only just the money associated, but the risks associated and all the challenges that you have, which file to remove, if there are 1,000 duplicates of the same document, which one to keep? Are there any versions? We don't know. So those challenges really are highlighted.
The,
Any other
we
new
have
entry?
we have Mahesh very clearly, very nicely pointing out due to the lack of knowledge, where to use what. And also, we have Rupita, who's also highlighted infrastructure cost and maintenance saved by cloud services. And Rajat highlighting the easy scalability allows less disciplined review of use cases of anonymous data that is being generated. Yes, we have these as
Absolutely.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. We'll continue to participate this way. Let me move. Okay. Now, this is the phenomena. All senior executives in the company, they all just want to keep everything they have in the cloud. No, they have nothing in their hand now. Everything has gone to the cloud. This is what we are really seeing. And in terms of applications that enterprises use, this is how the landscape will look like. Cloud is definitely getting crowded. This is where we are today, and anything and everything. If we remember the first generation of apps that were introduced to whatever we have today, either in Apple, store or in the marketplace, they and many companies have built their own internal marketplaces, which also have become too much. So now I'm sure that all of you know that the person whom we all remember for architecting any platform is Gregor Hoff. And these diagrams are very, very strategic for us to understand the importance of everything. So he always gives this example of a car with a platform, the chassis or the whatever you call the basic facility on which all the hats are built. So every company wears multiple hats. So this is the common set of services that are required, which are undifferentiated and standard. How do you secure a file? How do you copy a file? How do you really move a file? Or how do you really print a file? Whatever services that you can think about, in any normal IT world, all verbs that we use, many of them are standard, and you build everything as a standard in the cloud platform. Now, the differentiated, diversified, and low investments are the hats. So you can design a new, different looking stuff like a cyber truck. All of you know about it. Or the many car manufacturers in Italy, they come up with, they reverse the front and the back and say that it's a new design and reduce the height or increase the height. All kinds of hats are really happening at a very small investment, but they all offer some new way. So same way, the world also looked at the idea platform. There are certain core things that are there, which are common for employees, customers, partners, and things. And if you can put all the common services into one area, which is the platform, then we can keep on building and customizing industry vertical specific or a purpose specific platforms. I can build an insurance agency claim related platform. I could build a retailer stock management platform or retail experience platform. Anything is possible, but provided all the four parties are there together. And it is not one application. Many applications are created. Everything happens because of network effect. That's the key term used in any platform. I'm sure that all of us are on the same page on that. So here, if you really look at, not only there are many, many applications developed by different parties, but they all are API managed. That means they can communicate with each other and exchange data seamlessly. And interesting parts are analytics, algorithms, business intelligence. Everything is built in. You don't need to really get them specifically for that. And of course, other things like back office systems or even social networks, different views of the same data that is stored there. Everything can, of course, be customized and configured for different parts of the world for different types of consumers. So that's the power of the platform. And so that's what led to the exponential popularity of whatever that you put there, and everybody contributes and everybody gains. So this, with this understanding, the information systems that are there in every enterprise, they started moving into the cloud. And many businesses wanted to create great digital experiences. They again took the platform route because there was enough embedded analytics. They could think about dynamic pricing. They could think about things like surge pricing, that what we experience in over Ola situations. They could also really look at moving stocks from one place to another place, information centric decision making, and handle multiple multi-structured data. It could be audio, video, books, any kind of location services. All these things really made this a lot more complex. And not only this is one platform, and there can be hundreds of such platforms which can talk to each other. So it is platform of platforms, which is ecosystems, like the insurance ecosystems or the automobile ecosystem that we are going to experience in the next few years is going to be possibly the biggest revolution in the IT as we see. And they say that the number of people who can come on this is of the planet scale, and it will still be reliable. So this is the entire context that everybody got attracted in all enterprises. And of course, it has delivered results. And so people started moving exponentially to the cloud. So let's spend these things definitely gave some new challenges. The first thing, of course, as some of you already mentioned, it's all about cost optimization. How can we really now really look at the spending that we are doing, cloud related spending? How can we make it sensible? It's required, but can we put the money where the mouth is? That's the kind of stuff, and proportional to business growth. Yeah, flexibility or agility is required, but at what cost? Can we prioritize? Can we really look at the way that the agility is coming? And similarly, integration with systems or interoperability of the different applications, complexity in data management, complexity in administrating security and compliance. And of course, today we are all worried about the carbon emission, and the green IT. How can we make the platforms green and clean? So this kind of thought processes came into the picture now when we are really expanding, and this is where we are currently in. Now, I just want to bring in the three important definitions and bring clarity to all of them, and with some example, so that we really have a clear understanding of the three terms. We use the word consolidation when you are combining multiple systems, resources, processor into a unified entity. Very clearly, it connotates um, the idea of bringing something to the core or the center and help people really improve in efficiency, administration, cost saving, and all that. This is not new. Even if you go back 30 years also, many companies like Digital Compact at that time, IBM, they all offered something called server consolidation services. And even purchase department in many organizations did vendor consolidations. We have 25 suppliers, they are too difficult to manage, and so we will reduce them to 8 or whatever. And the frameworks that we used for these are typically like the ITIL, to make sure that there is a systematic process and we understand the workloads, we understand the issues, problems, release cycles. And similarly, when companies merged, they had to really look at the consolidation. Or we have seen this happen in our own IT industry many times. For example, IT companies around the Y2K time, when the IT industry started growing, they bought different buildings, within the same city. After some time, when the ITPL, or the technology parks were built, they gave up all these small buildings and moved everybody into the one fairly centralized facilities. So that's consolidation, and the administration of the buildings or the networks, transportation, everything. Instead of doing it in 25 places, now I can do it in one or two places. That really is the idea that we refer to as consolidation. Next, let us see optimization. They are used exactly in this manner, and so that's why we need to be able to navigate the discussions with our customers to make sure that we are able to provide the right guidance. Optimization is something you want to make it effective, efficient. Function optimization. We commonly use the word process optimization. The three things that we always consider in optimization, most often, I would say, is cost, time, or space. Cost optimization. The process takes, for example, to raise an invoice in an enterprise takes $1.6. Can I optimize that so that it is less than $1? So then you are doing the same thing, but you're increasing the efficiency. Time optimization. The process cycle time is something, and today we want to really use either process mining or many other techniques, automation, and understand and bring down the cycle time. Now you are optimizing the process time. Similarly, the space. Today you have got the digital warehousing ideas where the robotics are used to such an extent it knows where to keep what and bring it back to you. All that really ideas have come from several years. And for all these optimizations, we use things like lean principles, so Six Sigma, or in our own case, DevOps, in terms of making sure that the software release cycles are managed. Rationalization is a very interesting term. It is restructuring and simplifying systems and process portfolio to align with business goals. This is where Ritesh importantly spoke about. Every rationalization project must have a business goal. The other two has a cost goal, a time goal, or a ease of administration goal. But here it is a true business goal. I want to double my business. I want to really enhance my customer satisfaction. I want to operate in new regions where I have never operated. That's my growth. So the business growth, creating human-centric organizations, cognitive automation of I want to become a 24 by 7, no downtime, or what we call as on 24 by 7 organization. Or I want to become a zero latency organization. As soon as some information is generated, it has to reach all the right stakeholders. We generally use this term, sharing the right information to the right stakeholder at the right time on the right device in the right format with the right security. That's zero latency. So here, if you really look at the typical things that are happening, there is a connotation of long term as well in rationalization. You don't do it for the next 2 weeks or 2 months benefit. You look for a longer time benefits coming out of this. So whereas the other two has the consolidation, of course, has a longer term benefit, but optimization typically is to do something quickly so that I can save cost or save time. So here, the three key things that if you apply in the context of platforms, we now really look at things like we have a lot of enterprise applications. And can we categorize them? Which are the mission critical applications? Which are the ones that we rarely use? Which are the ones that create or generate a lot of data? Which are the ones that require more maintenance? Which are the ones that have complex business rules? So here, rationalization need not be based on the numbers of applications. The count is not very relevant. What is relevant is alignment with the business goal. If I want to achieve something unique and which becomes my differentiator in the marketplace, then my applications, my data my and core business processes. All these things will contribute to this. So people have adopted enterprise architecture, value streams. There is a new tool called Priority Navigator. All these frameworks are very useful in clearly coming up with the ideas around how to approach rationalization. This understanding is clear. And so with that, we will move to and introduce you to the application rationalization process. And I request Nivarti to take over and explain this idea.
Thank you, sir. So thanks a lot for setting the context and providing clarity on all the different terminologies as well as the need for right application of those. So good afternoon, everyone. So quickly to start off, one of the most important things, again, re-emphasizing on what RNP sir talked about, is the intent of application rationalization is how to maximize business value, right, from an organizational standpoint, while minimizing the complexity within the IT system. So how do you arrive at that? So that is the primary goal. So why we want to undertake an initiative like application rationalization? And more importantly, how can you express this as a strategic initiative than looking at it as an operational initiative, which is also very critical from business case standpoint. So whenever you talk about IT systems being optimized or consolidated or rationalized, it's always looked at as an operational initiative. The reason for that primarily is because IT is looked at as a cost consumer, not a revenue generator. So how do you look at through application rationalization, positioning IT as a revenue generator as well, not just being a cost consumer? So whenever you talk about looking for reasons that could full that could be fulfilled through application rationalization, you can look at better business and IT alignment. So many times what can happen is we get caught up between the complexity of whether IT is driving the business and business is driving the IT. And in that context and contest both, we start building many applications trying to prove that IT can, drive business as well. And that can lead to many applications which might be redundant, which will not be adding value to business, and the organization is living with them. That is one of the reasons as well where you have a hugely big application portfolios. So from that point, application rationalization can definitely bring in better business and IT alignment when you look at applying different approaches during the rationalization initiative. The second one, of course, it does increase operational efficiency because you may remove a lot of conflicting, redundant, duplicate IT systems within the organization. It also leads to cost reduction, which also means once the redundant applications are gone, the complementary applications are primarily looked at better integrating, and then the conflicting ones are also looked at being remediated. So overall, you will have a good number of cost reduction. The moment you simplify the IT architecture and make it less complex, it makes a big case for business to be more flexible to adapt to what is changing within the external market environment or the business domain or from a customer point of view or even the geopolitical scenarios changing very dynamically, which means that it does lead to enhanced business agility of the organization. And the lesser the complexity, the better it is for us to get a hand on security and also compliance. Compliance today is ever growing. Every country, if you have looked at today, is coming up with their own data privacy and protection regulations. That brings in a lot of complexity into the systems that we build. right? So, and you have to look at bringing in a privacy by design, but also security by design because of the complexities of cyber security issues. And most importantly, application rationalization also leads to breaking down of not just IT silos, but also business silos. A lot of times, as the organization grows into more bigger enterprises, what can happen is we intentionally sometimes and unintentionally start creating business silos. And the IT systems start getting distributed and being siloed to serve those business systems also. That can lead to a lot of duplicated IT environments within the organization. And as the organization continues to grow, these silos become stronger and stronger. And that leads to lot of inefficiency in the system and also cost increase as well. So going through application rationalization as a concept can lead to breaking down of not just IT silos, but also the business silos. Looking at what are the challenges that we can cater to while doing application rationalization and what you can come across. And there are a couple of surveys that have been done by different organizations. One is SAP LeanIX. They have published a good, amount of material on application rationalization. And what they say is over 75% of organizations are losing almost 10% of their budget because of not rationalizing. And you can also see that 70% of CIOs believe that they can actually eliminate 1/5 of their whole applications in the portfolios. That's a big number when you talk about big organizations. But what can happen when you look to progress with application portfolio rationalization? Of course, everybody likes to guard their baby, so there will be a lot of resistance to change, and it can lead to a lot of conflicts as well to say my application should stay or your application should stay in the environment when there are duplicate applications providing the same value to business. Lack of visibility of being duplicate systems existing and many times lack of visibility across the organization. Every organization that we work with are complex adaptive systems, irrespective of how much visibility we think we have, the system keeps changing. So while you are doing rationalization, how do you make sure there are not new applications cropping up? How do you have enough governance to make sure that the complexity is not increasing, the interdependencies are not being intentionally put forward is also something to look at. The risk appetite. A lot of times the businesses feel that letting go of a application is riskier for them, and that can make them again resist to the change that we are bringing in. And more importantly, whenever you start an initiative like application portfolio rationalization, there are of course many people who would work on it. That means there are upfront costs to live with. That also can be a challenge, and that is where looking at different data points to build your business case and make it a business problem to address than a operational efficiency initiative can break the case for us. What could be the approach for application rationalization? I think you will start with creating an inventory. In many organizations, you will have centralized systems where the application inventory is maintained. But in many organizations that are bigger, what we have also seen is we might have multiple inventories. And you will see that one application is probably is listed in more than one inventory as well. So creating a centralized application inventory is critical so that you have visibility to complete list of applications across the organizational portfolios is very critical. And you can create the inventories and categorize them based on the business purpose they fulfill, who owns those applications, how many users are involved in using those applications, what is the technology stack, what are the licensing costs. Why all of this is important is when you go for rationalization decision making, these would influence which one you choose to live with and which one you choose to let go, which one you would integrate and which one you would consolidate. All of those decisions would be driven by all the factors that are mentioned in that particular creation of an application inventory. Then you look at categorizing applications based on business value, the technology stack, and the infrastructure underlying, whether it is on-premise, cloud, multi-cloud, what it is, what are the complexities involved, interdependencies, criticality of the business need, and also the security and compliance status. The more legacy the applications are from a technology point of view, uh, the better you find opportunities to let them go. Then you engage the stakeholders to understand the business needs clearly. Many times the business is also not clear of end-to-end value streams and the business value of each application contribution, right? So that is also very critical to understand. So having something like a value stream map or even capability maps within the organizational system at a portfolio level or team of teams, whether you want to call it a value stream or an agile release train and so on, could be very, very important and effective in rationalization initiative. Then coming to, once you have engaged the stakeholders, understand their priorities and needs and intent, it's about prioritizing the applications based on different parameters and what is very important for organization, what is the priority at that point. When you are coming here to this stage and you want to prioritize different applications, it depends on what is the strategic priority of the organization at this point in time. That should drive, and that could be driven by whether strategic value is the priority, whether risk appetite is the priority, or the cost, or the security, or the even sometimes the current technology on which the application is built also could be driving the priority as well. So look at different factors that can influence the prioritization of applications to be rationalized. And when you look to remediate, you should look at leveraging the modernization approaches. So that could be to looking at moving to cloud or looking at platforms as operational status, or even re-architecting to move from legacy to, or if you have monolithic applications, to more service oriented architectures or even containerization, whatever works in that context. Last but not the least, we should not get back into the same state. So how do you continue to monitor and optimize the application portfolios across the organization on an ongoing basis is very critical. It is not a one-time exercise. It is a consistent focus that is required. So establishing right governance to monitor and continually optimize, and not look to go and say, okay, every 5 years we will do rationalization. That's not the right approach to look forward into as well. We'll move to the next slide, please. Yeah, there are different frameworks to look at the rationalization decision making. One of the frameworks, the time framework, comes from Gartner. It talks about looking at applications and categorizing them into applications that need to be tolerated. That means you have to live with them because of the business complexities or needs, or sometimes because of a certain technology stack which mandates you to live with it. And then the second would be the invest. That means you continue to invest and evolve that application because there is a certain path for that application and the functions it is delivering to still evolve. Then the third one could be migrate. That means you are looking to migrate from the existing technology stack to a new technology stack and look to evolve the application or transform the application. And last one is eliminating it. That means you don't need it and you are going to decommission. If you look at the other one, it is from Lean IX. The intent is same, but it is just that the verbatim used is a bit different. It talks about retaining, retirement, re-engineering, and consolidating. Overall, the intent is almost the same in either of the frameworks. I think that's something on application portfolio rationalization, and I give it back to RNP sir to take it forward.
Yeah, thanks, Nivarti. Yeah, because I'm sure that many of you are very well aware of the recent bank mergers, Bank of Baroda, Vijaya Bank to Union Bank and all that. Now, just imagine six banks had definitely, they were all running banks. They were using IT very much, right? So to open a savings bank account, you definitely had six different applications. And really looking at creating or issuing a credit card, you definitely had all the, every bank had those applications. So the challenge, interestingly, was that how do I really, in the new merged entity, how do you really look at it like one, application which integrates all the features that they all of them had. So I'm sure that in many situations, when we really look at the data side of the enterprises, we have created something called single view of customer, single view of inventory, or single view of employee and things like that. The similar process definitely has happened. When we really see today Bank of Baroda working, for example, or any other institutions which had several entities merged, and there are instances. It is not a joke or anything, but it is. There are organizations in the world where hundreds of companies have merged together, and you can look at the complexity and really what really it takes. That's why this will provide a long-term effect. It will also be done in phases, and it will also really have a very specific focus or a solid reason as to why we are consolidating. So next, that's all about the application side of the world that we looked at. Then we will switch gears and really look at data in enterprises. So again, Anirudh, you want to get some perspectives from people on data?
Yes, sir. So basically, if we were to ask, right, what are the key challenges? There are various challenges that are being faced. We are assuming that a lot of the individuals who are here are integrating data from multiple sources, multiple platforms. What are some of the key challenges that you faced when integrating data from multiple platforms? Or if you are the one who has been driving these initiatives, as to what is there something that has been the root cause for these challenges to arise? For this we are launching the poll.
So the responses can be on the chat,
Yes,
right?
they can just type here itself. Yes, please. Can I request uh, everyone to just type in some of the challenges that they've faced? Okay, availability of data,
Correct. If you don't even know the source, its location, its format, that's the metadata about the
data
source.
formats, data exchange,
Correct.
data
So these are
quality,
all the fundamental things that that really hinder the integration from multiple sources.
data
And
exchange,
of course, typically, looking at the same thing like the banks, the different banks would have called the same column by different name. I'm sure that all of us are very well aware of this. It is not necessary that n number of organizations will choose the same name for the column. No, it's not possible. And like Ritesh mentioned, that it was all applications were not created yesterday, and they all have their own evolution time. And whoever were the programmers who were there at that time, and they chose the way the schema, the column naming convention. Today it's all changed and it's all very much, and those people are not traceable. Then you never know what those entities really mean and the entity relationships mean. So it's really many times you may not even have access to that. So simply whatever superimpose the schema, whatever that you can make meaning out of it, move it. So now
Sir,
is there
let me
any new entry?
yes, let me condense. We have gotten some 14, 15 entries here. So let me
Oh,
condense some of the most received responses. Data governance, format and catalogs, data masking, data exchange, variety of formats, duplicate data, inconsistencies, APIs, and different data sources and data lineages. I think, sir, and data
excellent.
models. I've
Yeah.
condensed as much as I can. But thanks, everyone. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Over to you.
appreciate it. So I can classify that into two varieties. One, they are all related to data quality. Okay, whether they are duplicates, whether the numbers appearing in a text field or whatever, the format related challenges and the free text formats, which very with embedded things which is very difficult to interpret. So they a whole host of things that appear which which hinders integration is the format and the associated kind of things. And of course, there are many other dimensions that the mechanism that is used for bringing the things together. It completely typical, we generally say today, schema transformation, or really recreating views, virtual data virtualization. Many of you may have done some of those things, like the very popular product Denodo, where you don't need to even worry about the what all sources you have columns, and you can use business language related names, what they call business canonical forms, and you can access data and you can map that to whatever that's existing, and you can dynamically change. That's the beauty of that data virtualization. So those kinds of ideas have come in the industry today to deal with a variety of challenges that we have placed, in not only just in terms of location or naming convention, but forms, the structure, and of course the big data elements that we can really see. So if we really see, and I'm sure that all of us would have seen this kind of infographics, what amount of data we are generating. So there are two, whether it is a shopping related data or a chat or a Facebook posting or a music related stuff or uh, pictures that are posted or even things that we exchange text in, or the kind of information, unstructured information we share in LinkedIn, WhatsApp, or anything else. They all belong to a variety of multi-structured data. And so this is nothing less than a tsunami. So all the five V's of big data, whether it's volume, variety, velocity, veracity, value, all of them have different contexts in different enterprises. And of course, securing text data is very different from the way that you really look at a proper relational schema versus a blob or a in-memory database. Very, very different kinds of things are required to really look at that part. This already came up from the poll. Very thanks to all of you. Yes, there are so many data quality challenges that you can see that more than 40, 50 items are required to be controlled when you think about data quality. And there's a whole host of, not even hundred, thousands of tools available today, specializing and requiring attention that will help us in the data quality. And of course, I would like to introduce this idea called analytics workload. The way that people use data is different in different organizations. People who are preparing simple reports or copying it back to Excel or doing analysis on their own personal worksheets can be the simplest possible workloads. Whatever that you have really looked at as data mining, the kind of workloads which can really work towards detecting patterns which a human eye cannot detect, because there are too many variables and there are too much volume of data, and there is no visual way of knowing what is there in the data, what are the patterns in the data. Then you resort to data mining, and that workload is entirely different. Now, if you think about the big data kind of scenario, where any of those big variables, whether it is volume, variety, or velocity, then the way you process those workloads are entirely different. I'm sure many of you are very well aware of the MapReduce. You don't really move data to the program, but you move the program where the data is. So that's the complete paradigm shifts in the way that you really look at. Now, when you really look at the larger things like predictive models or prescriptive models, that's a very different way you are really looking at in terms of the more you are able to train the models, the better the predictability, the confidence factor, whatever we say, will become better. If you are, that's a very different kind of workload. Text workload is very, very different. They say that there are very interesting instances where all our known interesting historical documents like Ramayana, Mahabharata, they put the entire text and search for particular character, how many times it occurs. There are, in Sanskrit at least, there are 1 lakh verses in that. And if they are to be decoded and written and expanded, you can imagine the kind of search capabilities required. And today, search is very much possible using pictures. And we always use on our phone and just show the phone and say that, which song is this? So searching by music, search by picture, search by video, search by location, everything is possible today. And each one presents us a very different variety of workload. And the way people are visualizing data is also very interesting. Many of you may be knowing that internationally, there are several awards that are given for the best visualization, and so many new ideas and the new ways, compact ways of representing even 10, 20, 50 years of historical information in one single screen. People are really becoming so innovative. And similarly, there will be enough challenges about storage if at all you want to store, because today we are really interested in real-time analytics and real-time decision intelligence. So in which case the storage may or may not be the thing, but of course there are 85% of the instances we do require storage, processing. And now how all these things are working, we need to be conscious and we need to be observant. So then comes the observability. All these things have been clubbed together as one set of things that we need to really look at when it comes to data. And if you have a huge portfolio of data, thousands of storages, and millions of people using it on platform of platforms, then you can imagine what is the nature of this and how do you share data. From what is the smallest segment that you can take and give it to another party for, we know how Aadhaar data is shared, or any other UPI or any other mechanisms, how short transactions, and when done, they are capable of earning money or monetization. So all these ideas are required. And so that becomes the more difficult ecosystem. And things like blockchain and other areas which are coming up is one element. And still the data creation is about to explode, is what people are saying today. And if we are building ecosystems which are going to integrate all these capabilities on that ever increasing volume of data, then we do have a challenge on the cloud. So let's look at some of the things, and Nivarti will explain some of the challenges that we have.
Yeah, thank you, sir, again. So, as we all know, we keep on piling data both as individuals and also as organizations. Even if we look at ourselves, do we all know how much data we have on our phones and how much data we are actually looking into? Right. So similar is the case with organizations. We keep piling in data day after day from different sources, and there is a lot of duplication of data that also is resulted as because of that. So one of the things that we are looking to focus on is also about data rationalization. If we move to the next slide, so why it is important to rationalize the data? Again, just similar to what we are looked at when we talked about application rationalization, data rationalization also helps us with better business alignment, of course, enhancing the enterprise agility of the organization and also the innovation aspects. But most importantly, whenever you have data that is rationalized, what is more significant that can come out is the ability to exploit. That means make the best use of the data that is available and also monetize the data in a better way from an organization perspective. That is very critical thing that comes out of data rationalization. Of course, it can result in enhanced data quality and governance and the ability to be guarded against compliance, especially with reference to protecting and managing the personal data of people that are involved in the customer base as well as the employees of the organization. So that data privacy aspect is also significantly enhanced when you do the data rationalization. And because you will have a good view of the data that exists in the organization, where it exists and why it exists, you are better able to protect the data. And of course, cost reduction is something which is very typical of that because you are able to bring down the overall storage by being able to rationalize the data that we hold on to as an organization. Moving on to the next one. Again, here you have multiple reports that are usually published by different organizations. You look at the state of data being, as your way of looking at those reports. And we have also given you quite a few resources to look at in the additional resources column as well. So Nextla does publish their own annual reports. There is also a state of financial services data that is published by a Hakoda. That's another organization which does it on an annual basis. It is very critical when you look at these factors of reports being published. The major challenges with managing data from an organization perspective, if you look at it, data quality and governance and applying artificial intelligence are the major scores. But if you look at the reasons why they are majorly scored is because of the lack of ability to integrate data across multiple silos. That is the one of the biggest challenges which can cascade into our ability to not ensure right data quality and governance and ineffectiveness in applying AI to automate the decision making. That is where data rationalization comes into play. And similar to the other part that we talked about, like application inventory, it's important to create a data inventory to identify different sources of data, who owns the data, how is the data being used today, what is the need for cross-pollinating the data across business processes to maximize the value for the business as well as the organization, and also the customer. How can you enhance customer value by cross-pollinating the data? That's also something to look for when you are doing rationalization. Start with data inventory. Look to move towards classifying and evaluating your data domains. Data domain based organizational networks is something which is very newly being practiced by mature organizations. So looking at which all business domains the data belongs to. How is the data being collected, transformed, analyzed, integrated, and consumed from an organization perspective and also from a customer perspective. So look at core domains of the organization and how the data is being collected, stored, analyzed, processed, and consumed within the context of that domain. And what are the supporting domains that are facilitating value delivery through the core domains, and then look at the redundant domains so that you can get rid of them if they are not needed in the business context. And then look to align the data domains with the business objectives, the strategic objectives of the organization. And then when you look at the redundant domains, you can have different strategies, whether you want to merge with the existing domains or you want to integrate them to be more useful. And when you integrate, whether they become another core domain or it does become a supporting domain. And when you are looking at all of this, look at leveraging modern data architectures. Data virtualization, Denedo is one of the famous providers, towards data virtualization. You can also look at MDM, that is master data management and cloud data management. For data rationalization, it is very critical to have right data governance in place. That means a delineation of roles, very clear boundaries on who owns the data, who is the data exporter, who is the data importer, who is the data controller, who is the processor, who is the data steward. There are different roles. Even data product owner is a new role that has come up recently. So you can look at that as well. It's important to define the right roles, define the right data standards and enforce them, and make sure that when you are looking to rationalize the data, you are focusing on the regulatory compliance as well. As I mentioned earlier, every country today is coming up with their own data protection guidelines with reference to personal data. How do you comply with those needs is very critical as well. Otherwise, you can always get into issues just like Meta got into an issue with GDPR non-compliance. And I don't know how many of you know, they were fined 3 billion euros in July 2023 for non-compliance to GDPR. 3 billion euros. That could be the, more than budget of many organizations itself. And they were fined that much money for non-compliance. So compliance is a very critical thing. And just like what we talked about in application rationalization, we should look at how do you consistently make it happen rather than looking to do a initiative every time and again. So look at implementing the right governance structures, try to arrive, find automation opportunities, and also look at through those how do you continuously align with the organizational and business objectives. That's an approach you can take for data rationalization. So
Okay,
these are the
thank
additional
yeah.
resources, and I'll give it back to RNP sir again.
Yeah, thanks, Nivati. Yeah, this data picture is extraordinarily complex. Uh, I'll just talk about one item and then move to that one. So we spoke about three important items so far. One is consolidation, second is optimization, third is harmonization. Third is rationalization. Now, interestingly, in the data world, we have to introduce the new term called harmonization. Data harmonization is a very clear, specific practice in data management. DAMA, the final authority in all the data, right from very, very early stages, as early as last 25 years, they spoke about harmonization of data. And even today, there are a lot of very clear practices around data. If you have multiple sources of data containing same information, but different columns in different forms, how do you make it into a stage where all that information is brought into one single place? That's the idea of harmonization. So by now you have definitely understood rationalization process will involve consolidation, will involve optimization, will involve harmonization also. So that's the and with all these things, what we are really going to do is to really meet a very specific business objective. We will share some of these references that it will help. But I want to conclude in another 2-3 minutes by providing some insight into what are some of the most powerful ideas around rationalization. The obvious thing that one can think about is the digital supply chain. organizations who have put money on the table for this kind of initiative have got the highest possible benefit of rationalization. So here, digital supply chain essentially means the whatever are the things that we know that there are producers of goods or parts or whatever, or even information, and it is packaged, moved, and to different locations, stored somewhere, and whenever that is required, it is used to produce something new, and all these things. And unfortunately, many things will happen in the supply chain. The truck doesn't move, or the factory has a fire, or there is no stock in the retail store. So then we know these are the only signs that things are not working. So organizations really invest tons of money in optimizing the flow of material, both in terms of time, cost, everything, and value addition. Every stage has to add certain value, and the storage and consumption, ease of every one of those aspects. So if you really look at that, that's a very complex world. And today, digital supply chain is so open that organizations share their digital data in digital form so that they can plan demand forecasting, supply forecasting. Everything is completely done in a digital way. Now, this idea of supply chain rationalization looks at the end-to-end process, looks at the optimization of the process, looks at the technology used in everything, applications used in that, data used in that, security required for that, and how the different roles that are used, automation at different levels at the entire stage. Now, every dimension of supply chain is looked at, and entire thing is completely made to make sure that it is the best, and it can really, and resilient. Today we use the term called resilient supply chain. If anything goes wrong, there is a backup, and it will happen so smoothly that things really do not stop. These are the kinds of things that happen. Think about, as soon as Apple announces iPhone 16, then immediately people, there's a pre order and a pre-booking. Now imagine all the things that have to happen, assembled everything, and got to your retailer. Now everything has to move so smoothly, and including logistics. So there are importance that we are talking about supply chain is not only managing a working supply chain, but support the entire set of technologies and the processes and the logistics dynamically. These four areas have been identified, and this is where the interesting model for navigation of the supply chain in every area: process, application, experience, data, API, automation, security, reliability. All these ideas are applied from end to end, starting from supplier relationship management all the way up to e-commerce. Now, everything that comes in between the process is addressed from all these aspects. How is that process? What applications are used? What data it generates? How do we deliver the best experience for that? How does it exchange data with all the rest of the stuff? How much automation is employed here? How much intelligent is this process? How secure is that process steps? Or how reliable is this? Entire thing is controlled from end to end. And if this kind of a rationalization done, then this is the ultimate or whatever called nirvana in terms of achieving the ability to really apply rationalization concepts. So in summary, all I want to say is that rationalization has got a variety of things like application data, business process, digital experience rationalization, cyber security rationalization, cloud storage rationalization. They could all be grouped as technology rationalization, and multiple things could be done. But the better way to picture how we can control is the best example of Wimbledon Stadium. This is how things work there. You can see the car parking lots. and they are so well organized. Almost 30 miles before, you will be allocated a very specific car parking slot, and way to navigate to that specific car parking lot without stopping anywhere is given to your car. And you know that which car is going to take which turn and where it is going to get parked. So this is the decision making, long-term planning, long-term association with the kind of information that you have, and dynamically managing to ensure that everybody is counted and everybody information is counted. So this is the real world of rationalization. And thank you for being with us. We have about 5 minutes for questions. And with that, we'll be able to wrap up.
Thank you, RMP sir. Thank you, Nimiti sir. One request, as a concluding part of the webinar, we would request everyone to kindly share one key takeaway from the webinar. Before that, if I would also
Yeah.
request if anyone have any questions, yeah, you can unmute yourself and directly ask a question. Okay.
This is a very, very huge world. And what is seen as the most complicated rationalization effort that's going on is in the media company, like our news, NDTV, CNN, BBC, whatever that you think about. Just think about yourself. If they have to every day air so many different programs, what kind of multi-structured data gets generated? And they have to preserve it for several years, and organized, searchable, secure. Now, if that is the order of challenge, imagine what kind of effort goes into really putting all the efforts, exactly like the Wimbledon stadium I showed. This is the way that really rationalization is approached, and the results or the business benefits of that is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and also, sir, in the case of critical and big acquisitions that happen, which is multi-geographical, and you have organizations operating mutually in some countries and distinctly by themselves in other countries, and each of the requirements of the countries are different. The regulations are different, the compliance needs are different. Then you're looking at rationalizing the portfolio, both either from an application perspective or data perspective, and even you touched upon customer experience rationalization as well. How can you look to provide a unified, seamless customer experience across geographies while the merger is happening and after the merger also? So you can enhance the complexity as much as we can visualize.
Thank you. Thanks for being with us.
Any
And
other questions that anyone would want to ask? If you want to ask, you can type in the chat, or if you would want to directly ask a question, you can unmute yourself as well.
So the consolidation we have seen, consolidation and rationalization. Does consolidation should be part of rationalization?
yes, very much. That's why I said rationalization consumes all the three: consolidation, optimization, and harmonization of data. The term harmonization applies mostly to the data. And it is used also at a broad level, like an IT harmonization. Typically like what we spoke about bank, it is harmonizing the IT of across multiple things. But the practice of harmonization, the method, the tools, then the resulting benefits, everything is very clearly defined only for data part. Data harmonization is the one that is commonly used.
We have two more questions. While
Yes.
from one, this one is from Mohan. While platform rationalization supports sustainability initiative, what would be your guidance in terms of addressing risks associated with platform, app, or data rationalization?
Yeah, the all domains offer the equal use. Whatever practices that we use, typically rationalization needs to be treated like a program. The program risk management exactly applies in every one of them, whether it's application rationalization or portfolio or data portfolio or experience portfolio or end-to-end business process rationalization. Program management risk management element of the program management will apply. Mhm.
Okay.
And of course, the program management has all the great things like the benefits management, change management. All those things are wonderful to design a proper program around the rationalization. It is not just IT solution. It is a tremendous amount of program design also has to get into this.
Another question from Prashant. For applications that are Gartner time or 6R methodology are available, is there any such framework available for data? So basically for application rationalization, the Gartner time or a 6R methodology is available. Is there any such framework for data?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not aware of thing, but what really are the ones that are used are based on what we again call as mission critical data. Those pieces of data that are absolutely required for running the core business is considered as the first thing that needs to be addressed, and that includes both transaction and master data. Master data is very crucial, and that's why that we really see the new things that are coming up are a lot of importance is given for data catalog, data catalog management, so that what do we have. That's the inventory part which Nivati spoke about, and critical categorization will tell you about the critical need of the data for the business. What happens if you don't have the data? That's the two things, but have not come across any specific framework addressed towards that. Nivati, have anything else that?
No, sir, I think I have also not seen much, but if you are looking at some sort of a decision making opportunity from a data perspective, you can look at whether there is an opportunity to consolidate the data, integrate the data, or purge the data. So you could be even data archiving, and purging is another decision that you can take when you are looking to rationalize the data. And it becomes more complex when you look at structured data and unstructured data, because structured data is more easier to make that decision about. When it comes to unstructured data, then you have to relate it to a business process and then make the decision. So it's more complex than applications. That's why you are not seeing a specific framework yet. It might be coming up as it evolves.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you,
Thank
Anirudh.
you,
And
everyone.
Thank you, Anirudh. Thanks, sir. Nice
Thanks. Thank
being
you.
here. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. A
Thank
special
you.
thank you to Arun Prasad sir and the mentors. Thank you.